So the other thing is Godot for everyone.
What is Godot for everyone?
Well, it's Godot, and it's for everyone. Asterisk. Limited definition of everyone. So the idea is again a modular course that goes from the very, very, very basics. Here is Godot. Here's where the things are. Here's what a variable is. Here's what a function is. Here's what a condition is. The way to... I mean, we're not going to be doing network online multiplayer because that's very complex in advance. But we'll certainly be going into 3D.
Yeah. And for those who have been around for a while, Discovering Godot was the first beginner's course, and the Godot for everyone will be the second beginner's course.
Now, the reason we want to make it modular is there is a decent chance that you've used Godot before and you don't really need to be told what a function is. Maybe you want to buy it just to see what the difference in the scripts are, but that's fine. You could buy the bundle, which will have this course, the first course, the second course, and all the others, or you could just say, no, I'm going to have a more a la carte experience. I want this one, this one, this one. I don't care about Minesweeper or PySweeper, and I don't care about the first course. Now, originally we said this wasn't going to be part of the course, but we decided actually it's a good starting point. We're going to start, the very first one is going to be Rock, Paper, Toucan.
It's a great introduction. It's got conditional statements in it, so beginners will get right into the nitty-gritty of making decisions.
As a game, it's very, very... It's not that satisfying for more than a couple of minutes.
Yep.
But the idea is you get to pick rock, paper, or scissors. The computer says, you've picked this, I pick this, declare the winner, and then a start again button.
Yeah.
The key here, for an education point of view, is showing how to make this a lot more modular, I guess is the word. So instead of just having the variables in there, let's use export variables, and then we can tell it, it's not rock, paper, scissors, it's feint, grab, punch.
I thought you were going to go rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock for a moment.
Well, that's the next bit I'm going to talk about.
Oh.
So we can make it a much more flexible environment. And then after we go into that, let's go into what happens if you want to expand it beyond 3 options. What happens if you want to do rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, which changes how many times you get ties, but we also need to put extra conditions. Actually, it's quite easy to do that. And then from there, let's switch from if conditions to match statements because they're much smoother.
Yeah.
Will every node be explored in the Godot course? I don't know. Most of them will. I haven't designed the course around each node. So I don't have a checklist of each node and going, oh, we need to use occlusion 3D. Let's put it in there. I suspect most of them will be.
But we don't want to just cover a node or try and shoehorn a node in specifically to make sure that it's included. Most of the time, most things are covered.
A fair chunk of them will be covered. It's a completely valid way to approach this kind of system, and I know for a while Kids Can Code did exactly that, right? I can't remember what he called it, but it was...
it's almost like an encyclopedia approach. You just go through and
explaining each node.
Yeah.
The way we're doing it is more project-based. So the first project is going to be... The idea was, let's teach the basics of Godot and of programming while keeping things like graphics to an absolute minimum, right? I don't care about inputs and controls. I don't care about characters and physics. I just want the basics. And once we've got that, we can move into the next one. In this case, it's going to be Space Invadux, which is a Space Invaders clone. And that gives us basic physics, at least a character body. It gives us areas. It gives us signals. It gives us groups. Actually, we covered signals and groups in the previous one.
Yeah.
It covers stuff like that.
Redoing stuff is an integral part of learning. So the... What? Oh, thank you very much.
We just read that you're the most lovable. I'm too far away to read the screen properly, so I'm not going to butcher your name, but thank you so much.
Yes, it means a lot to us. One of the things is we always try to approach in a project-based way. I've done both. I've been through, and by all means, having a checklist of things, almost like a series of shorts explaining what this thing does and how you use it, is actually enough for someone to then take it. If they're someone who is good at picking up things and just making their own curriculum, but that's a very small subset of people, especially if you're brand new to Godot or Blender.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've come across is I like those videos. How do I use this tool again? And I've got a 3-minute video that explains it in detail. I've tried doing some of these things and I'm like, how about I get the extrude tool in Blender, a very simple tool on the surface, until you realise there are 4 different extrude types, and by the time by the time you've actually gone through and explained how you use each one of those extrude types, you've spent an awfully long time talking about extruding.
Sorry.
And that basically, that's very dry. You're not using it in a practical manner. You're seeing how the tool works. So if you're someone who prefers a more instruction book type way of doing something, it's going to, that's not our style of teaching. Right. Our style is very much, right, we're going to make this, whether it's a game or a model, let's discuss the various ways you can approach it. Sometimes I've done projects in Blender where I've taken a completely different approach to making a model. Rather than just extruding, insetting, scaling, and doing all that basic stuff, I've tried doing it a different way just to learn new techniques. And sometimes you end up with very fast techniques, but they tend to be context sensitive. So
I mean, that's usually,
it widens your toolkit.
There's usually multiple ways of solving the same problem in anything to do with, well, any creative aspect.
Yeah.
But they're not always suitable for every situation. Surajyoti, I'm sorry if I just butchered your name. I hope I got it mostly right. We're actually talking about what is effectively not a reboot, but the version of Discovering Godot for Godot 4. And the reason we didn't just want to make it a reboot was that so much has changed, it actually feels like it deserves a clean slate. Rather than people saying, oh, I'll just do what I did last time, oh, that bit's not working. Let's actually start over.
Yes, and actually focus on what Godot 4 is good at, rather than going through the same thing. I've and I fully get this, I've tried it going from Blender 2 to Blender 3. Some things are just different, or some things are named something different, and so just trying to replace the curriculum in another version doesn't always work.
That said, we are looking to do the same kind of teaching, the same kind of coverage. Some of the games will be different. I mean, to talk you through the games we have so far, we have Rock Paper Toucan, which is Rock Paper Scissors, Space Invaduck, Pie Sweeper, which is Minesweeper, because it actually teaches quite a lot of interesting... There's some interesting problems to solve there that aren't immediately obvious, and it's just little things like getting a tile map reference from a mouse position is a useful skill. Like, it really helps. Or how do you remove all the contingent ones unless there's a number, right? Things like that. Useful skills. From there, we go to Spooky Bricks, which is going to be Tukey Bricks, but I wanted to put a bat in it. And then we go into 3D with Tukey Kickabout, which is a local multiplayer 3D soccer game.
Yeah.
And then we haven't got the next 3D projects down yet, but we'll be moving into 3D.
Yes. Where possible as well, we want to be...
there might be a platform game we haven't decided yet.
Yes. Big question on platform game. Because we've kind of covered the same sort of stuff going through the Godot curriculum.
Stuff. Like, we've covered things like control movements, we'll have covered physics. What we won't have covered is things like pickups, lives, stuff like that. So we could probably get away with not putting a platform, but it feels like there should be a platform in there.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the assets thing.
Well, before we carry on, I've got a new cable, and your foot's very close to it. I don't want them to lose our our microphone.
Guess what I'm going to do now? No.
Bye, everybody.
All right, I'll stop crossing my leg.